But let's bring this back to also what to expect at 9 p.m. when that Vladimir Putin 100-minute interview airs here on India Today. We've been giving you glimpses of what to expect. And one of the aspects that we've been speaking about here is how this isn't an interview just focused on India-Russia. Vladimir Putin took questions on every possible issue, including the Ukraine war. What did he have to say about it? What's the end game for the Russian president? Here's an excerpt.
What is the end game for Vladimir Putin in Ukraine?
Так я же сказал.
Well, I've just said it.
Мы признали вот эти.
We have recognized, listen,
Мы 8 лет не
for
признавали
8 years we did not recognize
самопровозглашенных
the self-declared republics. For 8 years
провозгласили
they
независимость.
have declared the
А мы
independence.
старались наладить
And we were
отношения
trying
с остальной частью
To build
Украины.
relations between the rest of Ukraine
Потом,
and
когда
these
поняли, что это
republics.
невозможно,
When
что
we
их просто уничтожают,
Understood that it's
вынуждены
impossible,
были
that they're simply
признать
being destroyed, we were
Причем не
forced to
просто
recognize
признать
them and not simply
в части
recognize them in,
а в
as
рамках
their partial territory,
административных
but within the
границ,
administrative
когда они
borders
существовали еще в
when they
советское
existed
время,
back in the Soviet times.
а потом во времена независимой
And later,
Украины,
during the times of the
после
independent Ukraine,
обретения
after it
независимости,
gained
в рамках
independence,
административных границ.
in the
И мы сразу Украине
administrative
сказали,
limits,
украинским войскам, люди не
lines.
хотят с вами жить. Они вышли на референдум, проголосовали
So
за
the
независимость.
people, the voters,
Выведите свои
came to
войска.
the referendum
И никаких
and voted
военных
for
действий.
everyone to withdraw troops
Нет,
from there and not to
они
conduct
предпочитают
any armed
воевать. Ну вот сейчас
actions there.
завоевались.
But they preferred to
В принципе,
wage war. And now
всё к
it all
этому
came to a head. And it all comes to one thing.
вооруженным путем освободить
Either we do that
эти территории,
through
либо украинские
military
войска
action will liberate the territories, or the Ukrainian troops will
эти территории
withdraw
прекратят
and leave these territories and stop killing people there.
Arm twisting methods that are being adopted, and I name it, it's America. How do you plan to circumvent all this? Will you pull back or push harder?
Okay, so that was what, and just a glimpse really of what the Russian president had to say on the Ukraine war. There's a far more detailed segment conversation about the war, what's happened in the last few years, and international pressure that's building on Russia. But Preeti, to you, on what really you're going to be looking forward to the most in that particular interview. If there's one issue that you want addressed in that interview or you're seeking answers to, which is that?
I want to get an understanding on what President Putin has to say about President Trump. I think that would be very interesting because I think that will make international headlines, especially in the current context where we stand. So I think that is very, very important. And I'd be watching onto that where internationally is concerned. And the second thing, I think, Gaurav would agree with me. I think the spotlight is the defense deals. The S-400 from Russia has proved to be a great, asset for us, especially in Operation Sindoor. Russia is the only country, if I'm not wrong, that actually shares cutting-edge tech, the current cutting-edge tech with India, which most other countries don't quite. And, I'd want to know, in terms of defense, what are we looking at, where we stand. So personally, from the Indian perspective, I would be looking at the defense deals and, what comes of that. And internationally, I'm trying to know what he has to say about President Trump.
And what about you, Gaurav? You've told me that what you're looking forward to is understanding the future of the India-Russia story, but beyond that, internationally, because like Preeti said, this is going to be grabbing headlines across the world. What is the one issue you're looking forward to hearing about from Putin?
Again, what's extremely significant is how do you move forward in trade ties? You have great defense ties. What kind of technology are you sharing when it comes to, let's say, the Su-57 fifth generation fighter jets? What kind of technology is being transferred to India? What kind of technology can we absorb? Point one. Point two, we're told nuclear submarines being leased is still work in progress. However, the S-500 system, now that would be an absolute game changer vis-a-vis not just Pakistan, and Pakistan would become too puny when you have that kind of missiles, offensive and defensive, because that's something that will also make China rework its entire strategy. That gives a lot of strength to India. The fact that he's also saying he's exposing American double standards is amazing. That, that's something that I'm very, we've been talking about it. America continues to buy from Russia, but does not want India to buy and is penalizing India. President Putin also thinks that's not fair. How do you take that conversation forward?
Actually, one
And
more thing which
that's
I
critical.
think, what I think will be critical for India, and I'd really be, looking at that very closely, is, the labor pact between Russia and India. Will President Putin address that? Because this is a time where you've had the countries like America, which are closing in ranks in terms of visas where India is concerned. And Russia, hopefully, will be opening up because they need labor, they need even, semi-skilled, skilled, labor. So what are we looking at? Are we looking at Russia absorbing a lot of that strength that we have? That would be interesting. So two things which I'd be looking closely at.
And there's a lot of it which will also become clear tomorrow when you have that bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin and the signing of several MOUs. Preeti and Gaurav, of course, will be with me. We're going to continue tracking those updates. In just about 40 minutes from now, we'll get the first picture of Russian President Putin touching down in India, perhaps showing a namaste to all of us as he touches down in the national capital. We're going to continue our broadcast here and getting you live updates from Moscow as well. Preeti and Gaurav have been to Moscow, which is why producers have been kind enough to send me to Moscow, courtesy our studio backdrop. Both of you are in New Delhi, clearly, looking at that backdrop. We've ensured it that way, so that at least this way, I'm transported to Russia. We're going to continue getting you all of those updates. Stay tuned here. You're tuning in to our blanket rolling non-stop coverage of Russian President Vladimir Putin touching down in India for a crucial 24-hour visit.